We are very happy to be here as part of the panel. I think that's the first and foremost of all. Um, in a pandemic situation like this, any connect, whether virtual or otherwise, is great. Okay, there is a little bit of starving for connections, I suppose. And when this topic, work ecosystem, was uh, informed, I went around talking to a few people, in cohorts within my organization and outside, just trying to understand what in their mind is a work ecosystem. How are they understanding? The cohorts are the typical HR and the leaders and the team members. And each of them gave brilliant answers. They talked about values, culture, policies. There are enormous answers, all of them were there. And all of them were true. Largely, all of them were true because they talked about policies, process, systems, values, all this stuff. But they were not necessarily complete in the mind of the person who's talking to me. So they were looking at it, one aspect of it and were talking about it. So the beauty of this whole thing is the pandemic brought it into focus. Something work ecosystem, we took it for granted, and we're looking at it in various nuances. Uh, it encompasses the interconnectedness of all these elements. So a simple thing at Aether, I think we an organization like Aether, for example, we never thought we will ever work remote. Okay? We assumed that we will always be working in physical environment because our work itself is cross-functional teams coming together and solving. We took that whole process very granted, and when we were pushed to go remote, and what we struggled with is to create that collaboration without any breakage there, a collegial space where ideas are exchanged and worked with, and effectiveness of that work. Okay, so lot of new things like this is part of what you call work ecosystem. I'll take a pause here and I will just ask our panelists, I mean, what in their mind is probably the elements that construct the ecosystem, and how in their organizations, because each organization has a way of dealing with it, how in their organizations they're dealing with it. We will start there and then progress with more other deeper questions. Amol, if you're okay.
Sure, definitely. So I think let me start first with talking about one or two lines about my organization, so that you get the context of from where I'm coming. I work with a company called FIS Global. We are a fintech organization. Our right now Fortune ranking is around 250, and we have approximately around 18,000 plus employees here in India itself, in almost 11 different cities where we have offices, and we have grown with a lot of acquisitions. And fintech means wherever the money is moving, we have our product on that. So almost around 400 plus products from that perspective. And I'm just trying to bring the fintech piece here, because money movement happens even if the COVID was happening. So because of that, we have to be agile, and we have to be there with our customers during this time. So that's about FIS. Now let me try to move into this whole ecosystem piece. And according to me, I think there are multiple ecosystems in each one of us are staying. One is an home ecosystem where I have my family, and there is a different culture out here. I have my friend circle, which is a different ecosystem. There are times when I go and play sports, so I have a different ecosystem out there in sports. And if I come to the office environment, again in office environment, I have multiple ecosystem. One ecosystem is about the FIS itself, which is a very important ecosystem. The second is the team in which I am working, which is there. And if I look into the ecosystem, then the whole, the HR gamut itself is an ecosystem for me. So that's the understanding in my mind about an ecosystem perspective. And if you see, all these are very complex pieces, and a lot of these are interconnected things. And I am a movie buff and a sports buff, so I will try to compare it with some of the movies which comes to my mind when I'm talking about it. So one of the movie which comes to my mind is Chak De. If you remember, the scene where all these players from different states came together. The first scene with all the players and Shah Rukh, where he started talking about that from where you are coming. Everybody started talking about their state rather than the India, because they were coming for playing for the India, and I think that is the very important piece which is there. So if everybody within the organization is working in FIS, the first ecosystem they need to connect is FIS. And then to their respective teams, which is there. So that might be one. The other connotation which I can bring is Lagan. If you have seen that movie, there was an ecosystem that we need to get that Lagan Maafi, from English people. So that was a complete team was created so that we can get into those kind of a system. So that's a different kind of an ecosystem. But again, everybody came together from different backgrounds, a lot of interconnectivity, a lot of complexity. But the focus was that we need to win, and our workforce ecosystem is very similar. Everybody comes together to win. And according to me, there are a couple of things which we need to work upon. The first definitely is the infrastructure, resources, and the tools which we need to provide to our employees. And the second one is the emotions piece, which is there in human capital, because each and everybody will come with a different emotion and a different diverse background and different experience. So how can we build all these things together is an ecosystem, according to me. So that's the first part of your question. Now I'm moving towards the second part, that how we are trying to engage within our organization on the ecosystem perspective. And I think COVID actually gave us a lot of good insight in terms of how to create this. So when I am answering some of these things I am picking up, which I did along with my leaders in the current pandemic situation. So I think the first important piece which comes to my mind is that protecting the employee experience in the organization and preserving the trust which they have with the organization. So just to give you an example out there, when the whole lockdown started in March, I think there were a lot of news around that will the employees will get their salaries, and will the jobs will be secured, etc., etc. Those are the few things which started happening, and we decided that this is a very important time when we need to show the trust to the employees and protect the whole employee experience. So what we did was we released our salaries much before than the normal days, the normal months. So we released our salaries by 25th, 26th. We said that, you don't worry. We will take care of you. These are your salaries, even if you're not working, because by that time our whole work from home environment was, in the stage of getting implemented. But we still said that we will take care even if you're not working. So that was the first piece which we did. The second important piece is to manage our clients. The business continuity and the whole recovery piece. India being the 40% of the workforce, and most of the work or the services is happening from this region. It was very important to give that confidence to our clients that we would be able to manage it. So we started doing different activities so that the client has very clear-cut understanding that these are the different steps which we have taken, so that they understand that that we would be able to deliver the different services which we have promised, because an ecosystem will not work if the client do not interact and client do not have that confidence in us. The third thing which we moved towards was around creating a safety environment for our employees, because we have to do this business continuity even if not everybody was working from home or from office. We created an environment where a very small number of employees came to office, working with working along with the different government officials which are there, so that we ensure that the minimum requirement can be done. And we also work with the employees to tell them that what are the different things which we are doing, so that the workplace environment is absolutely safe for them. So those are the few things. The next important one was communication on the ground. So firstly, we started doing a daily stand-up calls, so that any managers, any employee, any leader has any questions, they can come and ask us. We started having a employee call on a weekly basis, where we told them that what is our plan, how we are trying to do the whole piece. And then we also started doing a weekly email to employees, those who are not able to come to the call, so that they understand the kind of updates which is happening. Apart from that, we also used to do a manager's call on a separate basis, so that every manager is aware what is happening. So a lot of communication all across the organization, from the CEO to the manager level, so that everybody has a clarity that where the organization is moving. The next piece is around taking the workplace home, which is a very important aspect. And this is first time, from an India perspective, our work from home capabilities were very limited. People used to do work from home only if they have some work and they are not able to come to office for a full day. So they used to speak to the manager that, okay, I will work from home for a day. So, the productivity was not measured for those particular days on a very consistent manner. But here now, it is not only about moving to the workplace, to the home, plus also the productivity which needs to be done. So we started having a session with all the managers that we are actually going to employees' home. We have to be very mindful of the things which we are looking out from our employees. So we did a very targeted training program for all managers, so that every manager understand that how to get the work out, or get the productivity out of the employees during this whole workplace from home perspective. The next is around giving recognition. All those who did good, we started recognizing them. And the last piece is around community, because I think unless we do something for community, it will not be complete from an ecosystem perspective. So one of the big item which we did out there was that NDTV launched the Rebuilding Lives for all the migrant workers which were traveling. And we worked with them and donated almost like 100K USD to them. Apart from doing a lot of other work towards the PM Care Fund, as well as a lot of our employees actually went out of their homes and started supporting those migrant workers. So those are the few ecosystem things which I would like to.
I think Amol, you just hold on to that thought. I'll come back to you on your protecting employee experience and drilling down a little bit there. But because Janhui's connection is a little bit weak, I'm not sure whether she's there. So I will ask Shalu to open up and have a conversation from her end. Then we will see what's happening with Janhui.
Sure. Okay, so Amol gave a pretty good and comprehensive view of, from a people standpoint, how the ecosystem involves different groups and stakeholders. And I think that's a brilliant set of initiatives, Amol, I see your organization doing, which is very encouraging in this environment. If it's for me as a panelist, I'm sure it's inspiring for those who listen to you. So it's great stuff. There are a few more aspects when I think about work ecosystem from the current standpoint, as well as if I were to take any organization which is there to serve a need in the consumer base, which play a very big role in how we operate and get work done. And those two aspects from my side, along with people as a pillar, is the processes and the technology. And to me, a good working ecosystem will be a great, how should I say, a sync up or a symbiotic relationship between people, process, and technology. And as we look around us, people say that it's quite interesting. Digital transformation's biggest boost to different industries today is thanks to what happened in the pandemic. But a lot of organizations, even before the pandemic, had started realizing that with all this cognitive technology coming in our life, with all the transformation getting influenced by how machine can augment human capability and capacity, I think that is an important aspect of the ecosystem, which is no longer an option. We can't any longer in this environment say that we will ignore this aspect and still get the most. And I think what has happened in the last 9 months of this year has pretty much set in stone the fact that organizations which are open to adapt and adopt new technologies and merge them with the human capabilities and competencies and capacity to get work done will front end the change in the industry. And somebody always says this, that it's survival of the fittest. But I guess this year has taught us the survival of the one who adapts the fastest. And I guess technology there plays a very, very big role in evolving our ecosystem to the level where we make the most of our people ecosystem of customers, employees, community, industries. How do we make value for them? And the third pillar from the ecosystem standpoint, which I think makes all the difference and ties up technology and people together, is the aspect of process. My 20 years of experience has been with GE, Genpact, where, it's pretty much drilled in our head that, in God we trust, rest all get data. And the only way to look at data is when you start looking at your process of getting work done from the eyes of customer, the one who you serve. And eventually it influences how we solve problems, how we look for better solutions. And, it's also the genesis of a topic which is very close to my heart, which a lot of people nowadays talk very emphatically about, is design thinking, is about human-centered design that can help you stay ahead of the curve. And at the core of all of that is, how do you develop solutions in the service of people? So as we think about our work ecosystems, we as HR professionals, as business leaders, as individuals who contribute to an organization's success, have to start thinking how process can lay out the most value-adding step of activities that create value from the eyes of all stakeholders that come and participate in that work. So, Sunita, from that standpoint, these are my two adds to Amol's pillar of work ecosystem as technology and process.
See, I think one thing is coming out, Shalu, is that you are very passionate about process. And I think that is very thickly woven into the whole story. But I just want to tell you one thing about Ather Energy. Ather Energy, you talked about where mobility and finance, how it gets mobilized. We are in the space of electric mobility, and Ather Energy has designed the first connected electric scooter designed and manufactured in India, and we are very proud of the product and how the engineers have come together, and the whole team has put together a fantastic product out there. And I'm just wanting to see whether Jahnavi is able to talk. Is she able to? Will you be able to speak? Because okay, what I just thought is, while we are all talking today COVID scenario, but generally going back, the first question I have in my mind is that when does this whole planning towards an ecosystem is thought through? Is it like as we build organization, as we grow, this happen naturally, or is it consciously worked on? Because design thinking is a very important aspect. That's what Ather is very passionate about. So I don't think organizations start with that thinking. They start with some other process. So where does this whole process of thinking of employee experience you talked about, Amol, and where does this whole ecosystem start? Where is the start point for it?
According to me, I think this ecosystem starts as soon as the human beings comes together. That's where the basic process starts. I think most of the time for an organization like us, we were also a private held organization before. So the owner driven, whatever is the thought of the owner, that's how I think it starts, because every owner or every promoter will have their own thoughts that, okay, this is the way I would like my organization to work. And I've worked with Infosys, and I can say that the way the initial promoters was thinking about the organization, which actually prolonged, because I was there almost till 2007, and I could see some of those things getting passed on to us as part of the HR team, that these are the cultures which we want to develop out here in this organization. And the same thing which I see out here in FIS, like our CEO keeps talking about that this is the last organization you should ever work. He himself has completed 35 years in our organization. He started as a management trainee. He's now a CEO. And his common language, each and every employee communication is that, I want you to be, FIS should be the last organization you ever work, but not the role in which you are working. So if our CEO is talking about it, we have to create policies and processes around those pieces. And each and every leader within the organization has to follow that, because if it is something which the top leader is talking about, then everybody else has to demonstrate it, because he's not only talking about it, he's demonstrating himself, plus he's also doing that within his teams also, giving them different kind of roles. And I can tell you, I have completed 11 years in this organization, and this is my 6th role. I have gone different continents. This is my 3 continents, moving from business partnering to COE role and back to country head role. So multiple kind of things I have done, and we have always been taught that thing approximately 1,000 days, and then what you want to do beyond those 1,000 days, start preparing for it right now. That's how the thinking process is there within the organization, which helps. So I think it starts from top and demonstrated by each and every layer within the organization. The communication has to be very clear cut, that these are the things which we want to do. The strategic thinking has to be very clear cut, that these are the things, and the ecosystem or the environment which has been created should have been created around it. Those would be a couple of thoughts from my side.
Shalu, I have one question. When we are thinking of ecosystem and all that stuff, we don't keep the diversity as an angle at all. Okay, we take the majority as an angle and then start building everything around.
Yeah.
How do you create an ecosystem that is inclusive? And what are your thoughts? And what are the challenges actually? Really, what are the other sets of diversity? The angle, if you look at it, what are the other sets that really struggle? And how are we actually working towards creating that environment that is inclusive?
Great question, Sunita. I think one of the key aspects of any good ecosystem coming to serve the needs of our customers and consumers would always, this is like a genesis of great innovative companies, right? Would always focus on how do you make sure that you drive inclusion of the diverse people, diverse skills, competencies, but also the technologies, the ability to get this collective wisdom come together and work to serve the end goal. Now, again, this is a tricky question from the extent of, diversity and inclusion. A lot of people do lip service, but there are enough research out there which shows that organizations that are actively promoting and supporting, and literally from a top-down standpoint, mandating diversity of people coming together to take key strategic decisions, have a higher productivity rate, have a higher innovation rate, have a higher compliance rate. So it's no longer an option. So that's one. I mean, I think great companies are realizing it more often than not, that if you focus on creating solutions that only service the majority, you are losing out on the advantage of bringing diversity in everything that you do. Now, having said that, can you really drive every decision through consensus? Maybe not, right? So there is a very, a fine balance between where you need to encourage inclusion in the thought process, in creating innovation to create something powerful or better, or take it to the next level. And how do you encourage frontline team participation from that aspect in thinking about new ways of doing old things, right? And still creating value for end user. Now, that's one way of saying, how do I make my leaders walk the talk and inspire grassroots level participation in innovation and thinking? Because that's where it matters. Because interestingly, what technology has shown us is this, that there is no one person because of designation or hierarchy who will be the wisest, right? There was a
Mhm.
time when
Yeah.
organizational structures were like, if I'm on top of my functional, hierarchy, I am the most intellectually forward guy. But now reality shows us that the best teams are those which actually work cross-functionally. You get teams together to solve an issue or be a SWAT team to address a new product launch. And diversity of expertise brings in a perspective in making the solution richer. And this has been observed and practiced by some of the best organizations in the world. I mean, look at the most forward-looking Fortune companies, and you will see all of them talking about the power of collective intelligence, the power of collaboration. So I would say that organizations that focus on three things. A, make it a mandate to say you have to drive inclusion and diversity of thinking and people when you are working on a strategic initiative. I think it has to, for organizations which are just starting out in this space of being more inclusive, it has to start with a little bit of mandate coming down. Number two, so there is an aspect of, am I supposed to be diverse and am I supposed to be inclusive in my way of working? And when I'm supposed to do something, that does not mean I have the wherewithal to do it, which is my second pillar, which is about saying, how am I enabling diverse people and diverse thinking to come together to make great decisions? And that is where you think about infrastructure. That is where you think about what technologies you use to connect people. That is where you think about how you train your resources and employees to be able to use these frameworks, technologies, techniques to come together and work together. So that's the whole enablement part, which says, I'm supposed to be inclusive, but am I able to be inclusive? Now, in my personal experience, Nita, I've seen enablement and enforcement are not the only things that matter.
Yeah.
There could be 70, 30, 40% of your effort or results come when you do enablement and enforcement. But 60 to 70% of your results come when you encourage people. And which is all about saying, I might be able to do something and I'm able to be using technology or frameworks and training platforms to come together and learn from each other. So all good things are there. And I might have been told I'm supposed to practice active diversity. So be it in my hiring process, be it in my promotion process, be it in my intentional in the recognition process. But if I'm not willing to do it, if I'm not influencing the core energy and culture of setting examples of how we make heroes out of people who practice these things, I will not create a sustainable model. So I will do it as long as the leader is passionate, and the moment the leader's attention is diverted, everybody starts going back to old ways. Because as human beings, we love the path of least resistance. So if nobody's watching, we want to go back. But great leaders set processes in such a way that even when they're not watching, they get done. And I give great companies, when they think about inclusion in the way they work and embed it in their culture, they think about mandates, they think about enablement through frameworks and training and infrastructure, but then they spend inordinate time to show heroes, to encourage that subconscious willpower to be inclusive. And they call out great people who do it, and they also make examples of people who don't do it. So that subconsciously you know that you will be rewarded for being inclusive, but most importantly, if you don't, then there is someone who is watching and will call you out. So I guess it's a very subtle way to drive moving of thinking. So it's like, as an L&D expert, I would say it's all about the mindset, the skill set, and how do you transfer this mindset and skill set to your job on a day-to-day basis. So that's how I would say it will work.
Amol, actually, when you spoke about when does this ecosystem start getting built, you spoke about leadership, at saying that leaders have to own it. Okay, and when you're talking about diversity, again, you're talking about leadership in the organization have to own it. Otherwise, this will be a lost cause. Interestingly, a lot is sitting with the leaders, But we have time. I don't know. I think we just have another 3 or 4 minutes before we can take up some questions. I'll just come to this one thing is while we're talking about this whole efficiently managing work, planning, communication, all that, but there is one element, that which we are forgetting about is people who are joining our organizations new. Okay, how are they getting assimilated in the system? And second, people who are leaving us, okay, for various reasons, how are they exiting? What is their feeling? And people who are staying there, who have been working, they also feel unacknowledged. There are feelings of unacknowledged the work that they have done. While I've put in more work and the constraints with which I'm working, the organization still is not recognizing. These elements of all the three are playing. So if Amol, if you can talk about it, I think any of these elements you want to pick up and talk, I'll be really happy.
Great. So let me pick up the new joinee process. I think because our, I would say, attrition rate right now has come down to single digit and almost just 25% of what we used to have. But definitely we are still focusing on those who are employees who are exiting. But I think the intake is an important aspect. So some of the changes which we have done is, I think this whole pandemic has helped us to move our digital story, a different notch altogether. I think I was reading that joke somewhere in WhatsApp that, which one has helped the most digital story, not the CEO, not the CTO, but the COVID-19 is the one. So I think our organization will not be very far behind on that. So the whole, the virtual way of doing the hiring is something which we have moved on, which is definitely working very, very well for us. We have started moving to the virtual onboarding piece now, which is also, giving a very good report to us. All the IT assets, etc., shipping to the new joiners, the virtual inductions is something which is helping us. Apart from that, we have also started focusing on the essential communication tools, because I think the communication is an important aspect. So we use Microsoft Teams. So taking the new joinees in terms of how this Microsoft Team works, what are the different file sharing application, what are the ways they can communicate, etc., etc. We are spending a lot of time with the new person. We also, demonstrate what is the organization culture and what is the team culture through the buddy program. So we have ensured that there is a buddy assigned to each one, so that they talks about all the things which the new person should be knowing and all the things which the new person should not be knowing. So I would say both the things, because they will definitely passing on some confidential things about the manager and the team members. So that culture piece is definitely important. We also are working on creating a very clear-cut roadmap in terms of for the new joinees to understand the organization, the team, the goals. Because the manager is supposed to ensure that those roadmaps which we have created is updated on a regular basis, so that the new employee feel that assimilation with the culture has happened. We also introduced a new learning management system, Saba, and we also did a LinkedIn learning tie-up. And we have moved all our technology-related training in that learning management system now, so that it's easier for a new joiner to just go into that system and do those programs. Earlier, these training modules were left within each team and everything like that. So LMS system is helping us to do those pieces. And I think the last piece, which I would say, is the regular touch with the employer, with the manager and the team, as well as with the leadership team. So we have created a very specialized program where the touch base are pointed out that these are the kind of touch base which needs to be there with the employee, so that it helps. So I would say we are still in that journey, 4 or 5 months into that journey. The feedback which we are getting is definitely encouraging in terms of the productivity which we want from these new employees have definitely started reaching to the place where in normal time they would have taken. The time frame is very, very similar, because we are tracking those productivity metrics. So these are some examples which I would say.
Shall we want to talk about acknowledging work and recognizing what's happening in their world and recognizing work? Because everyone is talking about productivity, but can you really be that productive with the constraints that are coming up? That reality are we acknowledging? Because that is part of your work ecosystem, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we don't acknowledge it and we don't surface it and we don't talk about it, then as leaders, we're also failing to that, saying this is an area.
Yeah.
I just want, do you want to add something about it?
Yeah. I do want to talk about it a little bit, Sunita, because I think a lot of empathetic organizations and leadership teams are acknowledging the fact that working from home, while has given productivity, and lots of industries are talking about people who never thought that work from home will work, are seeing great productivity benefit. Oh my God, we never thought that's possible. So there is this euphoria around, we found a new shiny toy, which we thought will never work for our industry, and it's working. And it's good that because it suddenly allows people who were always never selected in such jobs to suddenly get selected. Because, you know, working mothers who had constraint of traveling, who left jobs because they couldn't travel that long, are suddenly being, the catchment group where I would like, yeah, why not? They can work for 4 hours, 6 hours, and they don't have to travel, so it can be productive for them. So while work from home has created those kind of great opportunities where they didn't exist, I think organizations which are listening to the real on the ground story are realizing the stress and the stretch it is causing for many of us as professionals with young kids, with elderly parental care,
Yes.
to now realize that we don't even have that support ecosystem, right? The daycares don't work like they used to work earlier. You don't, at least you don't have the comfort to call up a special hospital assistance that easily because you're worried about 1,000 other things. You know that if somebody falls ill, there are too many stresses right now. So there is an emotional stress, there is a physical stress because people are doing much more than just work. Think about the time pre-COVID. We were, at least I can talk about myself. It was about 10:30 reach office, 7:38 in the evening, leave from office. It was like switch off home and worry about work. That's not possible, right? When your child is on a virtual classroom in the other room and you're trying to get on a call and you have bandwidth issues trying to figure, okay, who's going to get on the video call right now? And you're trying to worry about the fact that, my kid is not able to finish their classwork because something is not available to my child. It is creating emotional stress. And I think a lot of companies, and I can tell you that some of the most brilliant ones have started talking about mindfulness, techniques and ways to help people focus on stress management. Think about the aspect that no longer do we have 10 to 5 as a block available to any one of us. Many people have to now take breaks to cook food and then go back on their next call, right? And make sure that everything else around the house, the cleaning and etc. can be done. I guess things have improved, but as we go forward, organizations have to start exploring creative ways to support employees work at home and work from home. And
Yeah.
if we don't do that, it will create burnouts, it will create stresses, which eventually will hurt our productivity. So then, sooner than later, if we will not get onto it ourselves and proactively, we'll be forced to do it because it will start showing in people's health. So,
Yeah.
wellness programs are becoming a big thing for engagement and continued mental stability of people.
I'll just park there because I think we are on the time boundary. But one thing with thought, I'm just going back, is that there is a lot weighing on the leaders. Okay, there is leadership has to be more active, more thinking broadly, thinking, systems thinking for them has to improve. There is a lot weighing on the leadership, and I think leaders also have to raise up to those occasions, and we also have to be cognizant that they might not have all the answers. Okay, organizations as they go inside, they're also figuring out. The organizations are figuring, leadership is figuring. I think with that thought, I will stop here. Thank you very much for being a great panelist and giving your views.
Yes, thank you everyone. I think this is really nice discussion. on that. We have one question actually in the questions. Like I think you have discussed bring this topic as well.
Yes.
So according to you, what are the crucial factors or reason that affects employee work ecosystem? So I think you have discussed a lot of things on that factors. Maybe you can point out the 3 or 4 major factors which we have to take care when we're talking about the employee work ecosystem.
I think some of the things which I will talk about is the employee experience, the trust piece, the workplace safety, communication, recognition, the fatigue and the mindfulness, which Shalu talked about, and the community piece, because I think all these things have to come together along with client. So those are the few thoughts which I will leave with. We had
mindfulness for everything that's happening around us, and be agile to change.
Yeah.
Constantly willing to change and work with, and realizing you might not have all the answers. I think that's very important.
Yeah. So I think Sunita and Amol have said it all. I will just call out the last one because I think that is a very crucial one. None of us is smarter than all of us. And I think that's a fantastic way to sum up that we don't know all the answers. If we make the first attempt to collectively think about it, probably we will figure our way and move forward in life. So,
Shalu, that is one of our value at Atho.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time and also your sharing of your knowledge. For all, like we have another session panel coming up, which is from 4 o'clock. But before that, we have some break. So we have like 10 minutes break left, and then we can start the next panel from 4. So stay tuned for the next one, which is about digital human resource, and we will be catch up shortly. Thank you, everyone.